Hey everybody, I'm Todd and this is Sweet Tea Guitars. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel and welcome to my life. Alright you guys, so most of you know that I am in the middle of two builds right now. Actually 3 builds. One I was not filming. That's the 7 of 9 build. The Cloud 9 guitar is my entry into this year's Great Guitar Build Off. You guys have seen the videos on that. If you haven't, go back and check those out. I think it's going to be a killer guitar and I can't wait to get back to work on it. I'm also building the Figure 8 guitar for my doctor friend, which is a semi-hollow body. The videos are on the channel for that build as well, at least up to the point that I'm at right now. You guys have heard me talk about the 7 of 9 build, and I explained to all of you how I was not going to film that build because I felt like it was too much for me to take on. Well, I'm to the point now that I feel like not filming that guitar build has jinxed me a little bit. You guys already know, you saw me glue up the neck blank, the body blank for it. I actually ruined the neck blank. The router bit came loose in the collet, ramped down, went all the way through the back of the neck blank. I chopped it in half, glued up a new neck blank. What we've got here is a 9-piece neck, 2 pieces of rock maple quarter sawn on the outside edge, 3 strips of Murado, 2 wide and 1 skinny one in the center, separated by some white anti-gray veneer. I'm not going to use carbon fiber stiffening rods in this because it is quarter sawn hard maple and I don't really think it's going to be required. I'm using a spoke wheel truss rod like I normally do. I was about to say always, but I won't always use a spoke wheel. I am eventually going to get to the point where I do some traditional style fender necks and some back angled headstock necks that the truss rod adjustment is actually under the nut. I've already drilled my alignment pins down here at the heel end, up here at the nut side. I'm using a Maximum Guitar Works 25.5-inch scale Tele style flat heel template for this guitar. It's got a paddle headstock with traditional 6-inline fender tuner layout. I'm going to use the original Sweet Tea headstock design like I used on the Dark Corner build that I gave away not too long ago here on the channel. Anyway, this is the neck blank. After that happened with the neck, I started to think about this, and you know I've got the body blank still in its original form, and I had another body blank that I was thinking about using for this guitar that already had a top set glued to it. So I had kind of misspoken on a previous video saying that I had this guitar up to the same point that my Great Guitar Build Off project was at, because I was considering using a neck that I had already started that was made from maple. It has an ebony fretboard on it. It's already slotted at 25.5 inches. It's got a spoke wheel truss rod in it. And the more I started thinking about this, I felt like I was cheating not only myself, but I told Wes I was going to build him a custom guitar. Now, I didn't charge Wes what a custom guitar would normally go for, but he's my buddy and I've got plenty of wood, so I'm not going to skimp on this. I've changed my mind about a few things. First of all, I glued up a new neck blank, pretty much exactly like the old neck blank. I had the drops and all the same wood that I had already dimensioned down from when I made the original neck blank. The body blank I had not touched because I was considering using the other body blank that already had the B grade maple top glued to it. So I've got the body blank right here. This is a 5-piece body blank, 2 pieces of soft maple on the outside, 2 center pieces of mahogany, and a strip of white ash run down the middle. There's no veneer separating this. It's all solid glue up. This is ready to go. I think it's at about 44 millimeters thick. Let me check it just to see. Yeah, I'm at 43.5 millimeters. Plenty thick enough for a tele body. Now let's talk about this top that I've chosen to go with. So I was originally intending on using a darker wood top for this body, so I could just naturally oil finish this guitar, do no color on it, and I felt like that would allow me to get it done a little quicker. But again, Wes wants a custom guitar. I'm going to build him a custom guitar. So I've chosen to go with this 4A piece of quilted maple right here. I got this set from C. Jacobs Woods. It's not going to show up too great on camera, but this is a really nice top set from C. Jacobs. I got a killer deal on it because of those 2 points right there. Considering the finish technique I'm going to use on this guitar, those 2 points are not going to matter at all. I'm going to oil finish the neck regardless of what I end up doing with the body. This will be a bolt-on guitar, so that's not going to present any issues. We need to get this top set jointed and glued up. I'm going to use the Sean from Alwyn Luthery technique to glue this top set up, which I just showed a demonstration of gluing up the headstock plate on the figure 8 build in the last video I released. I've decided to film enough of the 7 of 9 build to let you guys at least see the process, because I felt like I was shortchanging myself, I was shortchanging you guys for not filming any of this build. We need to get on this because I want this guitar and the figure 8 guitar to come out of finish and be ready to deliver at roughly the same time. I've drawn myself some arrows on here so I don't forget which side I'm working with. So you can see those arrows or those triangles I've drawn on there. That's just so I can remember which way is up ultimately. Let's get this top set on the shooting board, get this thing jointed. I'm using a number 5 hand plane for this. I've got 2 number 6 hand planes right there on my plane wall. 2 number 6s, 2 number 5s, 3 number 4s, and a number 3, and then I've got a little block plane. But I prefer a number 5. This is a vintage Shelton plane, but it's got a Ward's Master iron in it, or the blade is out of a Ward's Master plane. I spent a bunch of time restoring this, flattening the sole, getting the sides nice and flat, making sure this plane was set up really nicely, and making sure that blade was super sharp. I am a fan of Sean from Alwyn Luthery. I think he is an absolutely fantastic builder, and I love his style. He's got a really humble way about him, and you guys all know how I feel about that, I think. You know, I'm all about some peace and love, and Sean seems like he fits into that philosophy pretty well. I've got my arrows up. I've already taken a couple of swipes of this thing, but all I want to do is I want to run this plane down the length of this top set. You guys will notice how I'm holding this thing. I'm getting a good ribbon already. When I first start this, I want to put all my pressure up here on the tote, or at the front of the plane. And I'll let my forearm ride parallel to the iron and the frog. And as I move down the board, and I get about halfway, I start to shift that pressure so it puts pressure on the back. That way you can assure yourself that the back of this plane is following the cut that was based on the front toe, which will assure you that you get a nice flat joint if you've got a nice flat sole and if your technique on the hand plane is good. So I'll take one more swipe off of it. Pressure on the front, moving it to the back now, and I just continue to apply my pressure as I move down the board to the back of the plane. Now, we've taken a ribbon off the whole edge of this. We've got a nice, slick, well-defined cut surface right here. So we're going to call this one good. I'm not even going to check it yet. On this piece, I'm going to flip this over so my arrows are down, or my triangles are on the bottom side. We're going to do the same thing. I'll put my pressure up here on the toe. I'm continuing to move the pressure to the back side of the plane as I move down the length of the top. And as you can see, I'm taking full length ribbons. Any angle you get from the plane not being perfectly at a 90-degree angle, by flipping that second piece upside down, they cancel each other out. Something else I like to do, I like to take my fret leveling beam. I've got 180 on this side, 320 on this side. Another thing I like about doing that is it puts a scratch pattern into the face of the board that's being jointed, and I think that gives the glue a little bit better bond. Now, it's just a little precautionary thing that I do. It's not required by any means. That's looking really good. All right, let's glue this thing up. You don't need an abundance of glue. You want to lay this down, crucially important. You want to rub these back and forth, not too far, about an inch. You can feel it. It will grab like a vacuum. All right, you guys, so I got the top set glued up. I moved the granite off the tabletop. I marked up not a center line, but what I want to become the center line on our fretboard. This will be the front of my fretboard right here. So what I've done was marked up my nut, the end of the fretboard, since I'm using a traditional swooped fender style headstock, and a center line that will be the center line once we cut this fretboard down the size. And the reason I did that, I used the Maximum Guitar Works fretboard template to lay this out on here and find out how far over that center line could be, save as much of this wood back here as I can for, you know, a little makeshift cover plate or whatever eventually. I don't want to waste it, and get it close enough to this edge that it's not going to cause me issues having enough room to route flush with the side of the neck, but also so I don't waste this strip right here. I can use that, cut that, make binding out of it or whatever. I absolutely don't want to waste this. So I only gave myself about 1/8 of an inch beyond the side of the fretboard. I've got my fret slotting template right here. We're going to attach this fretboard to the fret slotting template with super glue and masking tape. We'll run this through the LMI fret slotting jig and we'll be ready. This side's got a little bit more coloration to it. I really love this area up in here. I love that fleck it's got going on in it. I love Murado anyway. It's one of my favorite woods. LMI fret slotting jig, gifted to me by my buddy Mike from ASA Guitars down in Winter Haven, Florida. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. This thing has saved me so much time. Mike's a phenomenal dude and a super fantastic guitar builder. I really like leaving my fretboards a little thicker than 1/4 of an inch. We're at 9.2 millimeters. Now, I will take a hand plane to this thing on the back. We may even run it across the jointer and take some of this material away. You know, I won't take but about 1.5 millimeters off of it. I want to keep this fretboard at about 8 millimeters. We'll route our neck pocket deeper than you normally would to compensate for that added thickness. But I like to have the fretboard slightly thicker. You don't want it too much over, but a little thicker, in my opinion, is a good thing. I think it gives a little bit more rigidity. 9 times out of 10, your fretboard wood is going to be really hard, super hard wood. You know, whether it be ebony or Murado in this case, or Indian rosewood, sometimes the fretboard wood's going to be harder than the neck wood. So in that kind of situation, I think it's absolutely better to leave the fretboard a little bit thicker, especially also considering that we're not using carbon fiber rods in this neck. I've got the center line copied over onto the back of this thing as well. We've got our nut line drawn and the end of our fretboard line drawn. And I've got a scribed line right here on my fret slotting jig, so I know where to line my nut line up at to compensate for the offset that this fretboard's going to have. So let's get ourselves a 2-inch wide piece of masking tape. and we'll put it about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Let's burnish that. We'll use the same size tape, and I'm not going to use any activator. Run ourselves a bead of super glue. Not using activator will give us a couple of extra seconds of time to make sure we can move this fretboard. So I want to lay this down here lined up on my nut line and on my center line. Okay, I do not want to move this. And you want to double check this and make sure you're nice and straight. Let's get this put in the jig. The way this jig works, there's a hardened steel pin with a flat side down inside of here. That pin is thinner than these slots cut in the fret slotting jig is. So what you do is ride the right side of these slots up against the flat side of that pin, lock it down with these hold downs here, and then you saw your slot in there. So I want it up against this side. While you're holding this up against the pin, lock this down. I got myself a couple of these little wedges, which you can buy at the auto parts store. These are like door panel removal tools, and they're cut in a wedge shape like that. So what I like to do is insert that down in both sides to make sure my fretboard is firmly up against my leading referenced edge right here. So that's what we're doing. I'm using a Crown from Sheffield, England fret slotting saw. There's no set on this. It cuts a 23 thousandths kerf or a 1/2 millimeter, which is good for pretty much all frets with the exception of the repair frets. Then you just insert your saw in here and you want to gently rock it back and forth. So 10 good swipes. Pop these out, loosen these, move to fret slot 1. So our nut is actually cut in. And I'll put these in before I actually tighten these down. That way, all I have to do is make sure it's that way up against my pin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll deepen these up once we get to the point that we need to do that. But we're going to take our thickness off the back of the fretboard so we don't erase the slots that we've got cut in here. And I'm kind of letting my saw do that number because I know I'm going to be cutting a radius into the top of this thing anyway. We got plenty of room left for our 22nd fret, so let's cut this last fret slot in. I just wanted to pull it out of the jig and make sure we had that space that we needed, because we could have always left it at 21 frets if I would have cramped that space up too bad. But that didn't happen, so we're good. Last fret slot. One accurately slotted fretboard. So now all we got to do is we'll lay our fretboard template on that center line that we drew to start with. You line your fret slots up too, so let that be, what determines where you are. All right, let's trace out this fretboard. We're about probably 1/8 inch longer than the fretboard template is. I'm going to leave that excess length because we're using a spoke wheel truss rod. There's our fretboard drawn out on this thing. I'm not going to make but one more 7 of 9 video as far as construction goes. I will make a demo video in the end of it showing you guys what the finished instrument looks like and everything. But I'm not going to film the whole guitar. I just wanted to show you guys a few of these early processes, so some of you guys that are just now getting started on your great guitar build off projects especially, or who are getting ready to start your first guitar build, will see how I do it and how I go about getting these things done. I'm excited that we got this done already. Let's keep going on it. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. So what we got done last night, I've got all that marked out, my truss rod slots routed. It's ready to roll. I got my alignment pins drilled in there. Last night we slotted the fretboard. I've chosen to go with this beautiful piece of Murado or Bolivian rosewood. We also got the top jointed and glued up last night. All I've done was taken the clamps off of it. I've got a little bit of glue stain right here, but we'll get rid of that shortly. And I glued this face down on a piece of polished granite. That's what I used to glue this up. And we're gonna work on this top some in just a few minutes. What I wanna do right now, you guys can see right there, I used my Maximum Guitar Works 22 fret fretboard template to draw this out on here. So what I've done was I erased all those lines I had on there last night. I used this thing to line up, make certain that my fret slots were perpendicular. I double checked that with my protractor to make certain that my fret slots were perpendicular to the center line. They are. I think what we should probably do first is work on this headstock shape, get that drawn in, and cut this neck shape out. So we got the template pried off there, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but I've got the headstock shape, the paddle headstock shape drawn out. And let's just start drawing in some shapes on here. I need to pull that angle in a little tighter. All right, you guys, I've been drawing around for about an hour on this headstock. That's where I'm at. And I know you can't really tell too much what's going on. I'm going to take care of this on the spindle sander because what I'm doing, I'm denting up the wood and I don't want to sand this yet. I'm going to cut this outside the line on this S-curve down here on the end. I'll make sure I'm well beyond that so we'll have plenty of room to sort out the shape on the spindle sander, because if you rake it too much that way, it starts to look like a shark face, you know, and I don't want that. If you rake it too much this way, it starts to look chunky and blocky. There is a happy medium in that, and you guys who draw out headstock shapes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, I've been working literally for almost an hour just on the end of this thing, and that's how designing the headstock goes, you guys. All I know to do is get over here to the bandsaw and cut this neck out. We need to do that anyway. All right, you guys, when I left off last night, we had cut out this neck shape. So I've got that done. We're about to run it across the router table. Then I'm going to take it to the spindle sander. We'll clean up that headstock end and get the perimeter shape of this neck done. Now I'm not going to do the swoop until after we get the fretboard glued on. Let's crank up the vacuum and get this going. Let's pop this template off of it and see what we're looking like. So there's our neck, you guys. Lovely. Once we do the bevels and I get this shape right here cleaned up, which we're about to do, I think this is going to look way better. I love that look right there on the side though. I think that's cool. Let's mark out our nut line and make sure we've got that 43mm nut width I want to cross here. Half of 43's 21.5. I've got pretty much a built-in center line. We want to grab our fretboard template, which is right here. Take my 0.5mm pencil. We need to be at 21.5 on each side. And we're almost right at it anyway. I mean, we did use the template to cut the neck. I just always like to check that, just in case. What I really wanted to know is where my nut line's gonna fall on there. Right there. so we don't come past that and start sanding a valley into the side of our neck. So that was really the key. Crank up the spindle sander and get this done. Now that we know where that nut's gonna fall. All right, I'm happy with that. So there's our headstock. I love it. All right, you guys, I'm going to draw the back of this fretboard up. I've already got a few pencil marks on the back of it, but I just used my regular pencil. I'll use the big fatty on here now. I need to take a little bit more off of this end than off of this end. So I'm going to concentrate on putting my weight on my back hand. And I'm going to watch my pencil marks. Flat is the key. So I want to cut this off back here at my fretboard inline and up here closer so I don't have to route all that material away. So there's that end sorted, and there's that end sorted. There we go. 7 of 9. Beautiful. I love it. All right. I'm going to take a piece of 1/2 inch masking tape and we're going to mask off the truss rod just until we get some glue down. All right, we've got a nice even bead of glue. We'll save that end piece for a C-clamp. All right, we'll throw a few more clamps on here. I like to always work from one end to the other, or you can build in tension. You know, it's not likely that would happen, but it is possible. All right, I got squeezed out all the way down. We're looking good. All right, you guys, I'm back in the shop today. It is Saturday, July the 30th. We're about to take the clamps off of this neck for the 7 of 9 build. Here we go, you guys. The neck's just like I left it last night. So let's take these clamps off. There's our neck. You guys have already seen this. We've got a slotted fretboard, and we'll check and see how flat we are. I always like to check this when I take the neck out of clamp, because you're introducing moisture to both woods when you do that. I'm going to run this 80 grit across here and get that glue, that residual glue off this thing. I don't like it. It's not going to hurt anything. But there we go, that's better. I feel better about it, you know. You guys know how I am. I've got a little fall away down here at the end, about the last 5 frets, which is not that big of a problem because I would put fall away into these last 5 frets regardless. The fretboard's not going to stay that way with that fall away in the last 5 frets or so, because I have still got to radius this fretboard. During that radiusing process, I will get the fretboard back flat again. I've left myself plenty of thickness on this fretboard to compensate for that kind of thing. So we'll be all right. My last fret is above wood, but as you can see, it caught the roundover side of the fretboard. I may just file a bevel right there, do away with that 22nd fret, and leave this as a 21 fret guitar. I would normally leave a fretboard overhang and expose my truss rod nut through the fretboard. Since I cut this flush with the end of the neck, I should have backed my fretboard up about 1/8 of an inch, started my nut a little sooner. That way I would have had enough room to compensate for that 22nd fret. The way it stands now, we'll just make it a 21 fret guitar. It's not that big of a deal. A lot of tellies are 21 fret anyway, so it's not a problem. But it was a mistake on my part, and I don't want to try to hide that from you guys. I need to decide and sort out whatever type of fret markers I'm going to do on this guitar. I may only do one on the 12th fret like I did the dark corner build, make it pretty decorative, and then put side markers on this thing. I'm going to leave this neck flat until it's fretted. Once we get it fretted, after we radius it, before we start to shape this thing, it will be all the way up to the point that that's all that's left to do to it, is to shape it and put finish on it. Before I even go to the body blank, this is our upside of our top set. So I'm going to lay my template down on here using the joint as my center line. I'm going to trace this shape out, and we'll use this new deep reach pencil just so I can actually say I've used this thing. So there's our shape drawn out on our top set. We're all ready to do this. So I've got the template laid out on there. I made certain that I've got room for my alignment pins, one down here and one up here. I went ahead and just sanded for a little while on the body, got it all flattened up. You guys know what I was doing anyway. I was ultimately just trying to get this flat on both sides. We're going to lay this template down on here now and copy out this shape. So I have chosen to use this side for the back because the maple on the outside edge is a little cleaner than it is on this side. I've got a couple little imperfections in the wood, and the top's going to cover that up. So we need to mark this out on the front. Once I get this body shape cut, we're not going to go to the spindle sander with it at that point. We're going to wait until after we have the top glued on there so we can sand it all at one time. Let's get our 1/4-inch bit mounted up in the drill press and get these alignment pins drilled through here so we can get this body cut out and get this top glued on. This is one of the styles of the new Sweet Tea t-shirts available on my merch store at spring.com. I have now linked this to my YouTube channel. You can go up in the upper right hand corner, I think it is, click on the store button, and it'll show you everything I've got available at spring.com. You can select what you would like to purchase from that point. Again, you guys, I marked every product that I sell through Spring. I'm only making $2 off of a t-shirt. I'm not worried about making any money off t-shirts. I'm doing it so you guys can, you know, show your support for Sweet Tea Guitars. And I didn't want to make that to where you guys don't want to buy one because it costs too much. So I dropped them down bare bones. Anyway, get over to the Sweet Tea Guitars merch page on Spring. You can link through there on my YouTube channel and get yourself a t-shirt to show your support. I'd really appreciate it. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys, I really appreciate it. Let's get these holes drilled in here. Where I've knocked in that little indentation in there so I know where to drill this hole. Right before the drill bit touches that surface, I'll loosen my grip on the body a little bit and allow the tip of that brad point to center itself in that wood. It will do it. And the harder the wood, the easier that is. If you're dealing with really soft wood, the drill bit point will actually grind away the material. But if you're on a nice hardwood, it will locate itself, if you know what I mean. Anyway, let's get this second hole drilled. All right. All right, you guys, we're back. We got our body blank cut out. I'm happy with this. It's not overly heavy, even though that maple does add considerable weight. We're going to drill in these holes. I've already punched these in, just like I did on the body blank. That looks good. That looks good. All right. Let's hit it with the 80 grit real quick. All right, we feel nice and smooth. We're ready to glue this bad boy on. So I need to get myself some clamping boards. Use a couple of pieces of this hard maple. I'll use this piece. We want all these. We'll get our 4 Irwin quick clamps. That's the kind of wood glue I use, a Pell. Premium wood glue. It is an aliphatic resin. Plenty of glue. Probably a little too much. There we go. All right, I'm seeing squeeze out all the way around. All right, you guys, so there's our body blank for 7 of 9. And the last you guys will see of this guitar for a while. The next time you see it, this body will not look like this. But I will keep you up to date. All right, you guys, we're going to wrap this video up right here. This is going to conclude this update video, start over video, whatever you want to call it, for the 7 of 9 build. Again, I wanted to just show you guys some of these initial processes that I go through on every build. I hope some of you find this helpful. And I hope you learn something from it. That's why I like making videos, and that's why I'm going to continue to make videos, because I'm hoping that I can teach at least a few of you guys things you don't know yet. There's a lot of you guys ahead of me in this game, and I try to learn from you guys. But what I learn, I teach to the guys below us, in skill level, that is. That's kind of what I love about this community. Everyone's so kind and willing to share knowledge that you can learn anything you want to. And I love that. It's freeing. Whatever level of positivity that you're willing to put into this beautiful craft, you will at least get that back, if not more. I promise you. This has absolutely changed my life, building guitars, being involved with all you guys. I love it. It's beautiful. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, how about giving me a thumbs up? Hit that subscribe button. It'll help me out. I'm on my way to 5,000 now. That's the next big hurdle that I need to cross. and I need your help to do that. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're going to do another giveaway here come October. As soon as the Great Guitar Build-Off's over with, I will be announcing the details surrounding the next giveaway. Please continue to come back and check everything out. And until the next video, peace and love.